Welcome to this training where you're going to learn how to crush your anxiety using EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. I'm Bex Allen, a transformation coach. I'm also a wife, a mother, an adventurer, a creator, and a doer. So what is it that makes me the person that could help you get a grip on your anxiety? Well, I used to live there too. And I remember all too well those feelings of that inner fear just gripping at your insides. Anxiety is such an invisible, debilitating emotion. In becoming a mother, I completely lost myself. I lost my identity, my image, my confidence, even my worthiness. I used to beat myself up for all of my failings and hide away, isolating myself due to this massive fear of being judged by anyone, which in turn actually caused even more pain because I felt so alone. I really didn't like myself, and I just dug the dislike even deeper with comfort eating, and I gained a lot of weight, and the shame of that was all consuming. I wanted to stop feeling so awful all the time and not only be confident in my mothering, but be confident like I used to be. I wanted, more like-minded friends, and I wanted a happier marriage. My emotions affected my relationships. Perhaps you can relate. I had spent quite a few years battling with depression, and when I came out the other side, I decided I was ready to re-emerge into the world and find my place. And it was around this time that an opportunity came up where I accepted a leadership role. And it was very quickly that I discovered anxiety at every single turn. She moved on in and unpacked her bags. It was a steep learning curve, and I found this panic would bubble up inside me every time I needed to address a group of people. It didn't feel very leadership-like at all. I was just riddled with fears, really. Fear of the unknown, fear of getting it wrong, fear of not being good enough, the fear of being seen. But I also was determined not to let that fear stop me because I'd already lost quite a few years to my mental health. So I went in search of trying to find techniques that would help me get a grip on this anxiety that I was feeling. I tried different mindfulness techniques, breathing techniques, asking myself, will this matter in 5 years? I tried quite a few different things and never found anything that actually really gave me much relief in the moment. And that was what I was looking for. And that was when I discovered EFT, a tool that actually released these emotions from my body. I couldn't believe I'd found something that eased my body of the intrusiveness of that anxiety. It was unreal, and the impact that this had on my entire life was enormous. How could something so simple have such an impact on emotions? I wanted to share it with the world. So after about 18 months of playing around with this EFT, and I used it on everything, all areas of my life, and I decided that's it. And I started working towards becoming a practitioner because I just wanted to share this with as many people as I could and show them just how easy it really is. And along that journey, I really got amongst it. I stepped out there and I went and learned how to speak to groups of people without wanting to vomit. And I also gained more and more confidence every time I showed myself that I could actually achieve what I wanted to achieve. I went from shaking in my boots to winning speech competitions at area level and limelighting as a marriage celebrant, and I did that stuff for fun. I had literally figured out how to release myself from that anxiety. So here's the key. I learned how to get myself out of my own way, peeling back that anxiety so I could take the actions that I wanted to take. I found myself being able to easily meet new people, my relationships were thriving, I was able to be seen, and my absolute ultimate was building a business that brings me so much joy. This EFT stuff is amazing. Let's get into it.
So, what will you get from this training? Well, you're going to learn basic EFT. You're also going to learn how to create your own personalized EFT statements, the setup statements to tune into your experience. Now, what I mean by that is that there are plenty of EFT scripts out there that you can tap along to, but when we use our own words, it's super powerful. So, I'm going to teach you how to do that. And you're going to learn a few calming techniques, which are always good things to just keep in your back pocket, especially when working with emotions. And I really want you to go away feeling empowered with a technique that works, something that you can use every day and really enhance your life. And if you want to learn more or know where to go next, I will chat about that at the end. Who's this training for? Well, it's for those who are suffering with anxiety and are searching for ways to gain control back. Perhaps you've been a bit like me and you have tried quite a few things and you haven't quite found the thing yet that's going to give you some relief. Well, this is for you. It's for those who don't want to be held back by their fears and their worries anymore. They've had enough of that. And for those who are ready for their next level, whatever that may be for you, maybe it's a new career, maybe it's that dream job or starting your own business, or maybe it's just moving past anxiety full stop so you can be more present in life, whatever that means for you. So, how does anxiety affect you? It shows up in quite a few ways, doesn't it? Often depicted as butterflies in the stomach, but I think if you're here, you know as well as I do that anxiety goes a lot further than just butterflies. Those butterflies can turn into quite a few trips to the toilet with these upset stomachs. Maybe it's that you get the physical shakes or the sweats, that jittery feeling of being on edge. Perhaps you're one of the people who shut down when you're overwhelmed. That's another one that we do when we're anxious. Maybe it's using distractions that in the long run aren't serving you. For me, it was overeating. I would overeat in times of stress just to distract myself. I also used to smoke many years ago, and I was also a drinker. And, we do lots of little things that we're often not even aware of that we're using to distract ourselves from our emotions that we're experiencing. Or perhaps it's just stalling and putting off your dreams. The anxiety is making you stall. How does it affect you? Imagine being able to take that next step fearlessly. Being able to remove the anxiety so you can think clearly and take actions. Imagine feeling calm in those times when you would normally be riddled with anxiety. Imagine being able to see things, people, and situations for what they actually are, not distorted by anxious emotion. Any strong emotion really can distort how we perceive situations and people and things. Imagine gaining confidence. being able to be who you truly want to be. Did you know that all of this is possible? You can seriously escape these intrusive feelings. So, what are the knock on effects of being anxiety free? Maybe it's getting back out there, achieving your dreams, meeting new people. I know I was a little bit hung up around meeting new people. My anxiety got in the way. It could be getting that dream job, starting a business that works in with your family. It might be getting fit. That was another one of my ones. I used to be so concerned about what other people thought of me, and I wouldn't go to fitness classes because of it. Maybe it's just having more fun and being able to engage in activities and be fully present. Perhaps it's showing up for yourself in ways you've only dreamed of. Perhaps you've watched other people show up in the world in a certain way and you just did not believe that you could do it. And this big one here, gaining emotional control back. Imagine all of those things just from being anxiety free. And this is from one of the beautiful women that I work with. She suffers with anxiety and depression. She's a mum of two and is also studying full time at degree level. And there are days where her anxieties really crank up and get in the way of her studying and life. They cloud her head. Now, she's found using EFT skills, she's been able to get to the core of what's been troubling her, which is often something we're not conscious of, and then been able to release it. She's been able to carry on achieving her dreams and working towards this new career path, all while still being a great mum to her young girls. So, what will we be covering in this training? The 3 steps to crushing anxiety using EFT. So, like I said at the beginning, you're going to learn basic EFT, how to create your personalized setup statements, and how to use some calming techniques. So, what is emotional freedom technique? Well, it's also known as acupressure for the emotions, EFT, or you may have also heard it being called tapping. It's a highly focused energy psychology method that rapidly releases the emotional impact of stressful or traumatic life events from the body mind system with gentle tapping on points along the main junctions of the meridians to release energy blockages. Here we have a map of the meridian energy lines that are in our body, and it's very conveniently color coded here to show you the relation that each of these meridian energy lines has to different organs in our body. And all of the tapping points actually touch on different meridian lines, these meridian energy lines in our body. So a meridian is an energy highway in the body, and with taps on certain acupressure points, this can help relieve physical and emotional discomfort. So EFT is not just for emotions, it's also for physical symptoms, physical discomfort. The tapping sends calming signals to the amygdala deep in the brain, where our fight or flight reactions are fired from, ultimately restoring balance to disrupted energy. 95% of our brain activity is beyond our conscious awareness. This iceberg model shows this perfectly. You know, the tip of the iceberg is that 5% of our conscious mind, and this is in our conscious mind is where we make our plans and our decisions and our goals from. It's also where our willpower is, and it's where we take our actions from. Now, everything underneath that waterline is what's in our subconscious mind. So all of our emotions are there, all of our values, all of our beliefs, all of our memories, every single thing else is in our subconscious mind. It is huge. Now, to put this into perspective, our conscious mind can process up to an average around 40 bits of information per second. Now that seems like quite a lot of information per second, whereas our subconscious mind is processing around 40 million bits of information per second. How phenomenal is that? Our subconscious mind is so powerful. You know, major shifts happen when we work with our subconscious mind. When we go about our day trying to work from our conscious mind, which is just that 5%, and we try and plan our day and we're using all this willpower and stuff, but we have all of this other stuff going on in the background. So we can work with our subconscious mind. That's where the major stuff happens. And working with EFT, we want to be listening to our subconscious mind. And the reason for that is that's where all our memories are. It's where all of our beliefs and habits and everything else are. And that is where all the answers are. And your next question is going to be, how do I listen to my subconscious mind? So in a few minutes, I'm going to be asking a couple of questions. And the way you listen to your subconscious mind is just listening, noticing the first thing that comes to mind. Seriously, the first thing that comes to mind. And it is as simple as that. I remember when I was first taught this and I thought, no way, it cannot be that easy. Surely not. Second guess myself, overthinking it all. And it is as simple as that. Trust me. If you find yourself overthinking it and you just think, I just don't know, I can't hear the answer, have a guess. That is another way to listen to your subconscious mind, because your guess is your subconscious mind has given you that answer.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the basic EFT points with you right now. I encourage you to tap along just to get a feel of where these points are on you. There will be another sequence that we're going to tap along soon and we will do it together, but this is just getting to know where the tapping points are. So we always start with the karate chop point, which is this fleshy part on the side of our hand. And this is the point that we tap when we're saying our setup statement. So you could actually be here for a while, depending how long your setup statement is. The rest of our tapping points, we usually tap around sort of 7 to 10 taps. It's whatever feels right, really, but that's just gives you an idea of how many taps. And just really gentle taps. You don't need to be banging hard away on yourself. Then there's the top of the head. Now you can use 2 hands if you want to with any of the points, or just one, whatever feels right to you. Next one's the eyebrow point. I use sometimes one finger, but I usually use 2 fingers because you can easily hit both spots. It's just what feels right for me. Side of the eye, underneath the eye, underneath the nose, then underneath the lip. It's in that dip on your chin, but in the dip. Then underneath your collarbone. So it's not on the collarbone, it's that fleshy part underneath the collarbone. And then underneath your arm. Now that is usually where your bra strap is, or in line with where your nipple is. And then we go back to the top of the head. So the top of the head, eyebrows, side of the eye, underneath the eye, under the nose, chin, under the collarbone, under the arm, and then back to the top.
Right, now let's get into creating your personalized setup statements. So what are the reasons for having this setup statement? Well, a setup statement helps us to tune into the problem, whatever our problem is. And the reason why I'm teaching you how to write your own personalized ones is because your own words makes your setup statement more powerful, because your own words help you tune into your experience of this energy. And the more tuned in you are, the easier it is to release it. We also have in the setup statement a positive part of the setup statement. So something really nice about ourselves, like we often say, I completely love and accept myself anyway at the end. And this is to overcome psychological reversal, which in a nutshell means at times, not all the time, but we could be self-sabotaging on a subconscious level. And this is just putting some words in there to counteract that. So if you haven't already got a piece of paper and pen, just pause now and go and grab one, because I'm going to get you to write down a few things. So now I'm going to get you to think of something that you fear or something that you worry about, something that causes that anxiety in you. Perhaps it's a social situation, being around certain people. Perhaps it's a situation that you would consider that you need to be brave in if you were to do it. Maybe it's speaking up, maybe it's speaking your truth or being honest, or like me, but public speaking. Try and choose something that, yeah, that gives you a bit of fear. Try not to choose something that causes you off the charts anxiety. Just while we were practicing this EFT for the first time, let's go with something that gives you a good amount to work with, but it's not your worst fear. Now I want you to really zone into that energy. Close your eyes and thinking about that situation. Let the anxiety or the fears, the worry to build inside you, and really feel that situation, whatever your situation is. Where in your body can you feel it? It could be in the pit of your stomach, it might be up in your throat, it might be in your chest, it could be in your little toe. It doesn't matter where it is. There's no right or wrong here. It's just, where can you feel it in your body? I want you to write this down either on your workbook or on your piece of paper. Now, this is listening to our subconscious mind here. So, first, color. If there was a color on that energy that you've been feeling, that you are feeling, what would that color be? First color that comes to mind. So, feeling into that energy, where it is in your body, what would the color be if it was a color? And I want you to write that down on your piece of paper. Now, if there was a texture on that, what would the texture be? This is a little bit of an odd one, but keep going. This is all part of tuning in to the energy. It could be fluffy, it could be cloudy, it could be hard like slate, it could be anything. So feel into that energy. You know where it is in your body, you've got a color on it. If there was a texture on it, what would that texture be? First thing that comes to mind. Let your subconscious talk to you. And now I want you to write that down. And the last question is, what is the emotion sitting on that energy? Now, I know we're talking about anxiety here, and it very well may be that you have the first emotion that comes to mind when you ask yourself, what is the emotion that's sitting on this energy? It might be worry, it might be fear, it could just be anxiety, but it might be any other emotion, because sometimes it's other emotions that are causing us to feel that anxiety without us even realizing it. Anxiety is a crazy, crazy emotion. Okay, so I want you to write down what your emotion is as well. Now we're going to score it. So we're going to give it a score of intensity from 1 to 10. 1 being it's barely there at all. 10 is it is raging. This is a really important step because this is how we measure how well this has worked for us at the end. So write down your score, feel into that energy, give it a number from 1 to 10. So I'm going to run through the basic setup. A basic setup is made up of 2 sentences, and it goes something along the lines of, even though I have this, and we're going to insert the color, texture, emotion in there, in my, wherever in your body it is, I completely love and accept myself anyway. And then the second sentence is, even though I have this, whatever your color, texture, and emotion is in my wherever on your body, I'm okay. I can choose to let it go now. It's safe to let this go. So an example of this is, of the first one there is, even though I have this purple bubble of anxiety in my chest and throat, I completely love and accept myself anyway. And if that I completely love and accept myself anyway is just too strong of a statement for you, you can choose another one or you can create your own. But we just want a positive ending to the statement. So it could be that I'm still a great person anyway. I'm still a kind person anyway. I accept myself anyway. Or even I'm human. And if you're going to change the wording there, just write what you've chosen down now. So the second line of your setup statement is, even though I have this problem, I'm okay and I can choose to let it go now. It's safe to let it go. Now, the reason why we have that part at the end there is just to remind ourselves that we can let this go. Often we've been holding on to these anxieties or worries or beliefs or whatever it is that's our problem. We've been holding on to them for a long time, and we can let ourselves know it is okay to let it go now. It's safe to let it go. We don't have to keep holding on. So I'm going to get you to write down your 2 sentences of your setup statements now. I'm going to get you to pause the video here and just write out your 2 full sentences. So you've got your color, your texture, your emotion, and your body part written down there. I want you to just write it out into these 2 sentences and use this template here as your structure. So just pause and fill in to create your basic setup. And before we start tapping, so we've got your statements there, but before we actually start tapping, I'm going to run through these 3 calming techniques that we use when perhaps we've got a spike in emotion. Sometimes when we're tapping in to a problem, our emotion can heighten momentarily, and it's really good to have one of these calming techniques just up your sleeve so you can use it. Or if you're starting off with something that you've scored an 8, 9, or a 10, you might want to use one of these calming techniques, or even just check in with the calming techniques before you start tapping. So the first one that I want you to get really solid in your mind is visualization of your happy place. So close your eyes and just take yourself to wherever your happy place is. Mine is lying on a beach in Thailand with the sun beating down on my skin and hearing the seabirds in the distance and the waves gently crashing. That's my happy place. Where's yours? Get a really good picture, a really good sense, a really good feel of what your happy place is. Because if you start to experience high levels of emotion, you can just stop tapping and take yourself to your happy place for some nice deep breaths. And then once you're there, you can do some heart math, which is where we place our hand or hands over our heart and we do some deep breathing. But rather than just normal deep breathing, we actually visualize breathing in and out of our heart space. And this brings back balance really quickly, like super quickly. And the third one is doing a color wash. Now, this is one of my favorite calming techniques. It's so effective and very, very quick. So if I was to ask you, think about your energy, think about the anxiety, think about your problem that you had. If I was to say, if there was a negative color on that energy, what would it be? And it's not the color that you've already chosen. It's if there was a negative color on that emotion or that energy, what would the color be? And if I was to say to you, what would be a color that would lighten and brighten, a positive color that will lighten and brighten that negative color, what would it be? So whatever comes to mind, it could be any color. It might be a sparkly pink, it might be a gold or a silver, or just whatever beautiful positive color comes to mind. And then we're going to let it wash down over us. So just close your eyes and just imagine this big, beautiful cloud of your positive color moving down from above you and just touching onto the top of your head and letting it just merge down and trickle down into your brain, touching all those neural pathways and just trickling down your face and your neck and into your torso. And when you get to the part of your body where your energy is, so let's say the energy was sitting in your throat, when you get to your throat, really swirl that color around that area, bathe that area in your positive color, and then let that color just wash down through the rest of your body, right down to your fingertips and right down to your toes. This is a really beautiful technique that turns things around quickly if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the emotion as well. One more thing that I wanted to touch on before we get tapping is some energy shifts that you may experience. This gorgeous little bubba here is yawning. Yawning is one of the most common energy shifts symptoms that you will notice when you are tapping. Not everybody experiences it, but if you start yawning, that is just a sign that you've had a shift of energy in your body. Burping is also another one. So air moves around inside your body. This is another sign of a shift of energy. And sometimes the air comes up and sometimes it goes down. These are the three most common signs that you've experienced an energy shift.
Okay, so now we've got our setup statements and we're going to do some tapping. We're going to get into it and we're going to tap along together. Now I want you to follow me and add in your words instead of mine. So as in when my color's purple, if your color's yellow, whatever, add your color, your texture, what your emotion is, where it is in your body. So I'm going to say it and then there's going to be a space, some silence for you to say your bit. So you're sort of repeating after me but slightly altering it. And then we'll just work through the points and I'll give you some basic words that you can use. It's not hugely important the wording that you use when you're tapping. The main thing is that you've tuned in to that energy, and that setup statement is what helps us tune into that energy. But the words that we say along the way also remind us of that energy. It also reminds us that we can let it go. So you're going to get the general gist of it. Let's get into this. So starting with our karate chop point. Even though I have this purple bubble of anxiety, so you say your bit, even though I've got this, of what your emotion is, in my chest and throat, I completely love and accept myself anyway. Even though I've got this purple bubble of anxiety in my chest and throat, I'm okay. It's safe for me to let this go now. I can choose to let this go. Top of the head. All this purple anxiety, this bubble of anxiety, this purple bubble of anxiety in my throat and chest. I don't know why it's there. Often we don't know why it's there. But if you do know why it's there, you can say, oh, it's there because of whatever. It's safe for me to let this go. I can choose to let this go now. All this overwhelming anxiety. It's safe to let it go. This purple anxiety hanging out in my chest and throat. Feels like it's choking me. All this anxiety. It's sitting there. I can feel it and I accept it. I can choose to let this go now. Releasing this anxiety from every cell in my body. Letting it go. In body, mind, and spirit. And take a nice deep breath. Then we check in and we rescore it.
Okay, so just re-check in with yourself to feel back into that emotion that you started off with. And I want you to rescore it, remembering 1 is it's barely there, the intensity of it, and 10 is it's raging. What would you score it now? Sometimes our score may drop dramatically. Sometimes with just 2 rounds of tapping, it can go completely and you might find yourself at a 0. Sometimes it may just drop 1 or 2 numbers. So whatever your score is, just write that down now. So what do you do if you have some remaining emotion? You carry on. You carry on with your tapping. You get back into it and do more rounds of it. You can do as many rounds as you want to. When you're doing your setup statement, you just add in there, even though I still have some of whatever your problem is. Okay, so even though I still have some of this anxiety, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Just add in, I still have some of this anxiety in front of your problem and carry on with it. If your score is still quite high, you could do more than two rounds. You can keep tapping. You could do 3 or 4 rounds before you recheck in. I just encourage you to just keep going and just see that number drop down and down and down. This is basic EFT. Now, I wanted to touch on memories before I end it because EFT, what I've just taught you is basic EFT, but the real work in EFT is working with memories. And the way that works is that our subconscious mind will present to you a memory of a time in your life when you were experiencing that exact same energy that you're tapping away. That's how these memories come to mind. So if you find that you've had a memory come to mind while you're tapping away, you may think, where on earth did that come from? Maybe you weren't even aware of it until now, and now that I've said this, you'll think, yeah, that did come up actually. That's awesome. That is taking EFT to the next level. Now, most people will do memory work with a practitioner, but I wanted to touch on this because not all memories are huge traumatic memories. Some of them are just small memories of something that was maybe just caused you some discomfort at the time, and I want you to know that you can work on those as well. So I want you to really feel into that memory. Think about it. Feel into it, like I got you to at the beginning when you were thinking about something that caused you fear or anxiety. And then it's into the basic recipe, like what we have just done. Ask yourself, what was the emotion on this memory? Where in my body do I feel it? And write these things down as you go. If there was a color on this energy or this emotion, what would it be? What's the texture? And then score the intensity out of 10 and create a new setup statement and get back into tapping. And you can tap on that memory. Now, this is how we clear stuff, by working through memories as well. Taking this to the next level, I work a lot with my clients and their memories using matrix re-imprinting, which is like EFT but on steroids. The results are astounding. So anyway, back to the EFT. You can use it anywhere, anytime. It's not something that you need to hide away in your bedroom doing. Obviously, you may feel a little self-conscious tapping in front of other people, but I've excused myself to the bathroom many, many times to just do some tapping to release whatever the emotion is. I've even been caught in my walk-in pantry from my kids while I was tapping. I think my daughter was having a real tantrum at the time, and rather than reacting, I took myself away and I was tapping away on it. You can do it anywhere, and I can't encourage it enough. And when it's anxiety, it's often catching anxiety while you're in it and doing something about it. Often anxiety creeps up on us, and before we know it, we are smack bang in the middle of some really intense emotions. It doesn't matter where you catch it. I just encourage you to get into the tapping. You simply cannot go wrong with it. Seriously. Guys, this work is life transforming. Do you want to learn more? If you want to go deeper with my support and guidance and make some awesome shifts at a subconscious level, then this is for you. Are you ready to unleash your power and live a fulfilled life free from emotional handbrakes? You know those emotions that are getting in the way of your life. Do you want to learn about yourself and discover things that have been holding you back in life and gain an understanding of how this has shaped you while releasing it and freeing you to be who you want to be? It's one thing learning what's holding us back, but what I'm offering is a way to become free from this. It's super transformational work. I run a 6-week one-on-one program, and I would love to chat with you about where you're at and how I could help you. If this is something you're interested in, book your discovery call now and we can see if we're a good fit to work together. And if that isn't for you right now, I still absolutely love connecting. I'd love to hear how you're getting on with the EFT. And likewise, if you have any questions, please fire them my way. And until then, I want you to remember just how amazing you are.